Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the fourth Mushroom Picking Technology webinar. My name is Donal Gernon, and I'm the Teagasc Mushroom Advisor. As most of you are aware, recruiting and retaining harvesters is a constant challenge on mushroom units, both in Ireland and in the UK. It seems that every year it's proving to be more and more difficult to source labour, and eventually the industry is going to have to move to automated systems. In previous webinars, we looked at other automated mushroom picking systems such as Access Technology, GTL's Tilt and Shelves, Christian's Drawer system. And today we're going to look at the Game Changer mushroom machine. So, like I said, we're going to focus on the Game Changer, which is a one-person operated system that it can be integrated into the existing Dutch shelving system. So shortly, I'll pass you over to Alan Edwards, who will present his mushroom picking system known as the Game Changer. Alan is the owner of the Game Changer mushroom system and has been developing the system over the last 5 years. He is now at the stage where the machine has been trialled on numerous farms, and we'll hear more from Alan on his machine, on how his machine is performing. At the bottom of your screen, you'll find a Q&A box or a chat box, and there you can ask your questions as they arise throughout the webinar. I'll put those questions to Alan at the end of the webinar, and we'll have a short discussion on the picking system. If you're having any technical difficulties throughout the presentation, don't worry. The event is being recorded, and I'll put it on the Teagasc Mushroom website and Horticulture Development Department YouTube channel after the event. There are BASIS, Neuroso, and IASIS points attached to this event, so anyone on the call who is registered should click on the link that I'll post shortly in the chat box, and you can fill out your Neuroso and BASIS and IASIS details. So without further ado, I'll hand you over to Alan to begin his presentation.
Just hoping you can see that.
Yeah, you can see that.
Well, welcome everybody. My name's Alan Edwards here. We're going to kick off first of all with a video. Now the video is a little bit back in that it's from recordings taken a wee while ago, so a few things have changed. We'll do this first. Right. Obviously, I need to thank Donal Gernon for his invitation here today to talk about our machine and provide you some information. We would like to thank a few other people. Kieran Walsh for facilitating much of our testing and also his valuable advice and assistance over the past 6 years. We have been visited around quite a number of mushroom producers for testing the machines on their farms and providing feedback, and some of it's good and some of it's bad, but it's all been appreciated. And obviously the pickers who work the machines so well even when things didn't always go so well. Those problems have largely been overcome. And obviously we need to thank Paddy McShane from McShane Packaging for sorting out the punnets for the machines, for that was a major problem for us at the beginning. So I know your time's very valuable, so I'll keep powering on here. My name's Alan Edwards. I'm the project leader and owner. I have a few qualifications here and there. I've been a college lecturer. I've been worked in software systems, bespoke software development. I've been an innovator as well. We've had several leading edge products which have changed industries. We've been ahead of the game there. We've done personnel training and I've been a business consultant. So I do know how to read a profit and loss. I know the differences between profit and loss, and I know the value of what we have done. I'm not technically an expert and I'm not from inside the mushroom industry, but I do know what works and I do know what doesn't work. And I'm not afraid to go back and to start again. And if I feel I've made a mistake. And I must say I have smart people around me as well. And it's taken us a while to get those. We have 10 key personnel at the present who work for us in full time, and they have extensive experience in the following key fields: computer-aided design, which is CAD, mechanical engineering, electrical and electronic engineering, sophisticated or software programming, welding and fabrication, testing and quality control. As I said, it's taken us a while to get the right people for the job, but the machine is simple to use, but it is a little bit complicated in the back box. We have patents pending on our product and we do protect our intellectual property rights, but the machine is finished off and we're happy enough to say we believe we're well ahead of the pack. The design work started in 2014. So I could be a 5 or 6 year overnight success, possibly. We were very happy to notice that nobody else has bothered to think small in the mushroom industry. And that has really allowed us the freedom to persevere and take the time to get our machine, our product correct. We have not been followed hard by competitors. So the project I took over with direct involvement at the edge in the end of 2015 because I wasn't happy with the way things were going. So we pulled it back in-house with our own people. The machine, the main design specifications were to be one person operated, running on its own power source because we didn't want cables and put a massive amount of infrastructure into the tunnel. We wanted it to double the harvesting performance, so I suppose we thought 50% wouldn't have been too bad as well. It would have been significant, but we're very happy with what we've got. We wanted to present mushrooms with the head up in the punnets. Now that has created major problems for us. And we had 10 previous machines which were an awful lot faster and got continually faster, but it took us a wee while to try and sort up the head up in the punnets, and it actually took a total redesign. We wanted the precise stalk cutting. That wasn't a difficult part. Accurate weighing wasn't too difficult, but we wanted to work with existing lifts and infrastructure. And we also were planning to get something that would have a quick return on investment. We didn't want it to be out of the range of most producers. We wanted to solve the problems. In a lot of cases that we've seen in many industries, people don't solve the problems. They actually just move them to another place. So it just becomes another person's problem. So in this case, we wanted to solve the problems for the picker, not move them to the packing house or somewhere else or just outside the shed. We settled on this main thing was one person operated, So the person was responsible for the production of the machine, and we wanted to keep all the user functions within reach of the operator. We had seen things where people couldn't get at or correct any problems that they got. They had to go down onto the floor and mess about. And when you're up on the 5th level, it takes a lot of time to get yourself down there, go around, get the problem sorted out. So our key thing was to keep everything within easy reach of the operator, including the loading of the mushrooms, the loading the punnets, removing the full punnets, controlling the machine, changing the stock lengths, and basically any problems that would come up that'd be within easy reach. And we have achieved that. The following aims we accomplished with the machine. We're happy that we can double the picking performance. I don't think that's hardly an issue now. So what we're talking about is if a picker was picking 20 kgs per hour manually without the machine, they would be up to 40 kgs per hour in the same tunnel, in the same crop, or 25 to 50 or 30 to 60. And we have achieved that again and again and again. Reduction of waste is important because if you're taking it away in the bin, it's definitely not going into the punnets. So an accurate stock, cut accurately and at the right length, about 1 millimeter of stock equivalent equates to about 2 millimeters of weight, 2% of weight. So we're reducing the waste, but we're also putting more in the punnet. And believe it or not, it looks an awful lot better. Improving the yield. So this allows pickers to graze at a more uniform size. It aids that, reducing the premature picking of too small of mushrooms. By presentation in the mushroom was a big thing. It was a massive thing, and it really is big in UK and Ireland. So presentation actually slows down the pickers quite a bit. Our machine takes that function over, and a lot of people have commented that our presentation from the machine is a lot better. At least it's an awful lot better and a lot more consistent than anything from the pickers. Automatically capturing the data from the harvesting, so we know the kilos per hour, who's picked, where they've picked at what times they were picking on. And we are integrating with Adam Coulter's software, the farm manager, and we have a joint venture working with him, and we hope to move forward a lot quicker on that there in the next few months. We obviously want to have an affordable solution that would fit in existing infrastructure easily. We didn't want to be an equivalent that it was a bulldozer and a few million quid. So this is our machine on a line drawing, starting from the kind of top middle. We have obviously the large shelving area for storage. Where we're finding is we go through an awful lot of punnets. If punnets are coming sliding down every 12 seconds, you're inclined to go through them an awful lot. So we had to get big shelving there. It also protects the machine and keeps it clean. And but we also have the cutting depth adjustment as the front, so it's very easy done. We've obviously the touch screen controls, which is on the wireless link. We can actually log on remotely if we need to fix anything or take a look at anything for it. So we've got the voltage detection. Bearing in mind our machine works on 12 or 24 volt, doesn't create a problem for it. We have changeable arms for the buttons or for medium or large cups. So that is really a 2-minute changeover. And we have detachable dirt trays with 2 integrated out of, if you've picked small mushrooms and you don't want them to go into them punnets, there's actually 2 knives at the side there that you can pull the stalk off or cut the stalk off with for large ones or the small ones. Our machine is stainless steel. It looks a little bit better than if you've done it in aluminium or anything out there, and we're very happy with the properties we've got there. The pick and place has been extremely fast and is extremely fast and could be speeded up even more. And we've had a problem over a period of time there where at excessive speeds we had little bits of crashes, but we're thankful to say that even today the boys were coming back to me with kilograms of around 91.6, 82 and 85 on some of the machines that they were testing today. and we have had no problems whatsoever. So it's been a period of 5 hard weeks of slogging and testing to all hours in the morning. So we've also got, if you look a little bit further down, we've got an attachment so that we can actually use our machine to pick in boxes or trays or 7-pound trays, those kind of things. So we have a few people abroad that are actually picking into those at the particular minute, and very happy with the results. A wee bit further down, we've got the waste bin, which we can pull the lever and basically the bottom drops out of it. The weighing scales are situated in the machine. We took the belt off it because we found that actually it was well nigh impossible to keep the belt clean with the punnets dropping down, and it was supposed to be the cleanest part. So I don't know how people would keep clean meters of belt whenever we've found difficulty keeping a meter of belt clean. So with the transport trolley, so we use it for when we come off the lift, we push the trolley in, let it down on the lift, and we can actually take the machine off the lift, probably minutes. It is minutes, and it can be one person operated. We have a quick change denester, so there's actually a cable and a wee clip. So you pull the cable out, click the clip out, and then you can lift the denester off and set it to one side and put another denester. And obviously the configuration for the machine is in the software for the placement in the different sizes of punnets. So we've also got on the right hand side, you can see there a quick hitch for working and connecting to the lifts. Most of you would have already seen that, and then with the removable cutting blade as well. So our measurements, basically you're chatting about 1.5 meters by 500. And we're not here to hide anything. The machine's as it is. In order to get the speeds, we had to eliminate some tasks. And obviously that's the benefits of mechanization and automation. So the following manual tasks were replaced by the machine. The accurate stock trimming, so it does improve the look and it adds weight in the punnet. The weighing of the punnets, at present assessment doesn't work on average weighing, but that could be easily amended to it. We have the facilities in to do it, but it hasn't been a major thing just at the minute. The denesting of the punnets, a real game changer in itself. The placement of the mushrooms in the punnet, many have said the machine does it a lot better than their pickers. We can collect the data, obviously, and we're storing the waste. I've seen people run a whole day without emptying the waste, but that is not, we normally try to get them emptied as they go at the top end of the shed. So those are the tasks that the machine just takes over. The presentation of the mushroom in the UK and Ireland is extremely high. Well-presented mushrooms sell. People buy them. Well-presented mushrooms are actually more valuable. So this is an unjiggled about. We didn't go in and turn them all around. That's come straight off the machine. If you look at this, this is presentation on the buttons. You notice that on the bottom layer, you have 3 levels of 4, or 3 rows of 4, and then stepped in a wee bit on either side, you have 2 rows of 4. And I have seen mushrooms, button mushrooms, come off like that consistently every 12, 14 seconds. A punnet would be sliding down the slide, and it really is exciting just to see it. Again, presentation with some of the brown mushrooms. You don't see too many white bottoms. There's another one there as well. So our specifications, say around 1.5 meters by 500 by 700. The machine weighs 68 kgs without the bin. There is 2 bin options. We have a deep bin and a shallower bin, and there is a little bit of difference in the weight as well. So you can see the levers that at the front, you pull that out and the bottom drops out of it. The most important of our machine is the software. We realized that from the very, very beginning. Our software can control the speed of the machine, the functionality of the machine, the adaptability of the machine, and basically the right software can make a mundane system look good. And we have spent a phenomenal amount of effort to get this right. And that has involved actually totally rewriting parts of the software, even if when it was working quite well, because we thought it wasn't user friendly enough. So it's relatively simple. I have never had anyone said they didn't know how to operate it after showing 5 or 6 seconds. You know, you log them in, you log them out, and then you log them in and they do it. And that's it. Life goes on. Obviously at the bottom there, you see the statistics buttons. That's where it takes us to my kilograms per hour. So I can just click on that and see whether they're doing 70 kilos an hour, 60 kilos an hour. Some of these buttons would disappear with user access. So if we only want them to have access to certain functions, we can do that. There is things like the voltage is being controlled, session times, and you have these buttons. I'll explain them later on. You're probably wondering why the 5mm, 10mm, and 15mm buttons, but that is because when we are placing the mushrooms into the punnet, if we had longer stalks, we needed to lift it up. Some of the mushrooms were coming down a wee bit too far on top of the mushrooms above. So if we're cutting the stalks long, we can easily move it up there with one button to say, just on your first level, go to this level. On your second level, move up a little bit more so that it doesn't put any kind of mark on a mushroom. Obviously, we've got the ability to change the settings to alter machine performance in here, and that would be under the settings buttons. And software can be upgraded remotely, so we can continually improve. Again, we spent a lot of time to get the languages right, because we wanted, even in Ireland, you could be using 4 or 5 different languages in Bulgarian, Polish, or whatever. And the sound is also involved in that. And that has actually speeded up people dramatically for if they run out of punnets, it would say that a punnet didn't drop. Whereas before, they'd be wondering for 3 or 4 minutes why nothing's happening before they would catch on. So it is definitely speeded up some of those things. If there's a problem or anything out there, they're onto it right away. The harvesting options, we've actually got 3 different belts, so 2 are pictured. We've got for ones that are closing together for the buttons. The medium cups is probably the most optimum way of picking mushrooms. They reckon around 50 to 55 millimeters is really the optimum weight, optimum size, that kind of stuff for picking mushrooms. And we've concentrated a lot in that. And we've also got ones for large cups. So it'll handle from 50 millimeters to 80 millimeters. Now, the cups can be popped off, and the cups you see there, green and red, they actually made a magnetic material or a compound in there, so it will warn if one of them bits breaks off and gets into the punnet. So it'll stop on as it goes through the metal detector. So it actually takes minutes to change the arm and to set up there. Obviously, we've got the pick and place robot. It is extremely fast and can go faster, but our performance is greatly enhanced by picking up more mushrooms per lift. So a lot of people were talking about 1 mushroom per second. Well, if we pick up 3 mushrooms at a time, we can do the same thing going every 3 seconds. So our machines are, shall we say, a little bit more relaxed, but they're still doing actually more work because of the way we have organized our system. So it's doing 3 times the work rather than picking up 1 mushroom if you're lifting 3 or 4 mushrooms at the one time. The other main advantage to that is that when you put the placements in the punnets, they hold their position an awful lot better because they're kind of positioned in an orientation. So if you put 3 in one side and put the 3 at the other, they actually hold together. Whereas you're putting in 1 at a time, they're inclined to fall left, right, in the middle or anything. But so we're actually pleased that it aids our presentation, as well as making sure that our machine doesn't have to work as hard in order to achieve far more results than normal systems. The other thing I should mention is, because you're up and quite high, we have to be careful. You obviously can't have them swinging back and forward. There is quite a bit of pressure in the pick and place, so it's a balancing act for us. The placement of the mushrooms in the punnet is software controlled, and we have a few presentation features. Obviously, depending on the size of the punnet, the placement inside the mushroom is slightly differently. So the buttons, these are placed on the bottom level, so you'd have 3 rows of 4 mushrooms. and then you step in at either side, and then you have 2 rows of 4 mushrooms. And it is very, very fast, because you have to bear in mind, when you're picking up 4 mushrooms, you've upped your speed by a quarter without actually doing anything more. But it is absolutely brilliant just to see the machine operating with buttons. Medium cups is the normal one that most people are using, and they're basically positioned as 2 rows of 3, one on the left, one on the right, and then basically it comes down with the 3rd row into the middle, and then again it goes left and right. So everything stacks up, so we've got a nice even look at the top of the punnets. If you have large cups, we have 2 rows of staggered, because they're getting into bigger ones, and depending on the size of the punnet, but we're thinking of the ordinary, the smaller ones that most people are using. What has happened is, to get our position right, we put 2 in, we roll the punnet forward a wee bit, and then we put the other 2 in, and then put another 2 in on the other side, and then roll the punnet back a bit. So we have all the mechanization to do what we want. And obviously things change slightly, are programmed to change on the size of the punnets. So the placement control, we have software that specifically does that part. Now, we made a major rewrite of the software there about 2.5 months ago, 3 months ago, because as we were out, we realized we needed to make the features more accessible to the people that are operating. So if they double clicked on, say, grade 3, it would bring up this pick and place screen with the settings. So for instance, if I was lifting heavy mushrooms, I want my pick and place unit to go down on top of the mushroom and wait a little bit longer so that the seal is there before lifting up, because I need to have a better seal when I'm lifting my mushrooms. But whenever I go to place it, I don't need to sit above that position as much or blow down into that as much, because gravity will make the mushroom drop down. Whereas if I was picking up buttons or small mushrooms, I don't need to use anywhere near as much vacuum technically to lift that. So I can go over straight down on the top of it, lift it, and then move it across. But when we're above the placement, we actually blow into it. So not only do we stop the suction, but we actually blow into the cup, because what sometimes happened was small mushrooms would stick and fall as we were coming back, and we didn't want that to destroy our presentations. So we have got, for different sizes of mushrooms, we've got inside this, we've got variations on the pickup, and we've got variations in the placement. For instance, again, if I'm picking up a mushrooms and the big mushrooms, I don't want to go down into the belt as deep, because the mushrooms could be sitting up an extra 5 millimeters. So I can cater for all that inside it. So we've got 5 different settings for 5 different grades of mushrooms, and it has worked exceptionally well. But it did take us about 2.5 months to revamp our whole software to do that. Obviously, we've got the stalk trimming, removable blade at the back for cutting stalks. We actually had to put a scraper on it as well to keep it clean, and our adjustment knob at the front. And our first machines, we had to change the design of the blades. I'll not go into it, but this was, we found that some blades created like a tearing process at the very end of the mushrooms. So even things like that didn't fall beneath our notice. We wanted to make sure that it was a perfect cut, and we had a few wee things to do that. And we must say, we're very happy we succeeded in that. The Mushroom Machine Game Changer will handle the following packaging. So the standard packaging is 175 by 135. Technically, the depth of it, whether it's a 250 or 200 or a 300 or a 350 or 400, doesn't make any difference as long as the size at the top is correct. We have the long punnets, we have the square punnets, and we have the large rectangular punnets or trays. Now, we have denesters in design, and some of them are actually finished for smaller, even more various types of punnets. So we have the facility to handle basically nearly any type of punnet or size of punnet or that you've got, whether even smaller than that or odder shaped. So because the placement then can be determined by the software. So it's when we change the denester, we change, or the packaging, we just change the selection on the software to accommodate that. Our punnet denester, we totally redesigned what we even previously had, but we had to do our own design because we found that we couldn't get anything at the right kind of sizes or small enough to fit into what the machine that we wanted, obviously even within the right price bracket. So a lot of time has been spent to deliver a punnet denester that is reliable, small footprint, easy changed, and affordable for different package layouts. There are a few important things for denester. This is probably the most complicated piece of kit about, though it looks quite very simple. The punnet denester can be changed in a minute. There's a clip. You can pull it up and you pull the wire cable out, lift the thing off and set another one on. And then you go into the software and say, we're using this size of punnet, and everything else happens. The punnets are easily loaded by the picker, and that's where we put the big trays at the top. You need a lot of them. Any problems are easily resolved because occasionally you have to tap it at the bottom, push the punnets up, but it's very close to the operator. We've been doing, to solve our software problem that we had a wee while ago, it took us around 5 weeks basically, and I can hardly remember. I could count on the number of times on my finger or my hand, the amount of times I had to touch the denester in those 5 weeks. Our system is top spec from the beginning. We can handle cleared or colored punnets. So it's irrelevant to us whether they're clear or colored, just put them in. The top down size of the punnet is important, but depth is less relevant. So the same punnet could have different depths in it. Denestable punnets have a space between the lips. I'll mention a wee bit more about that later on. So there's our denester and a few of the punnets. Cleaning. Now, we look at this as like a race, and we were very concerned that the last thing that we wanted to have was that our kgs would go up phenomenally, but then it'd take them a half a day to clean it, which basically be equivalent of you're the fastest on the lap, but you're stuck in the pits. So everything that we have done in this machine has been designed to be easy to clean. And we know that we can do this in minutes. It really is. We've done a good job. We've done a good job on this. So the bottom of the machine is a giant bin because gravity works for us. Any dirt will fall downwards. Any dirt falls into the bin. So basically anything that comes drops into the bin. Doesn't land anywhere else. There's no ledges. All dirt collectors, which are mainly at the front side, are easy to remove. So we don't need tools or anything like that. I can pull it off, tip it into the bin, and go on ahead. We have designed the parts to be cleaned with a pressure washer, and I'll show you a picture on that in a wee second. Suckers can be removed because we do clean them occasionally, and we have software controlled cleaning warning. Most people just clean them towards maybe once during operation, and at tea times or break times, they would give them a wee wipe. So we also can allow the bottom of the bin to open to dump the waste, but it also eliminates splashback if you're giving it a rinse with the pressure washer later on. And all the surfaces are easy wipe down surfaces. So if you look at this, this is myself, well, I'm not showing, but cleaning the washer. So it has reduced an awful lot of time. A few minutes gets it, and you could do 6 or 7 machines as quick as you could do 1 or 2. Now, obviously, if we were moving from a third flush to a second flush or a first flush, we have a little bit of a problem only up to a point. So what we do is, to accommodate that, when we're moving the mushroom machine from one growing room to another, we would spray the machine with Spore Kill Spot from Nutrigrain to kill any handful of spores that may carry disease. So it's alcohol-based, so it's away in minutes. It cleans all the surfaces for molds, bacteria, viruses, and yeast, and it's 100% biodegradable, and it's tested 99% efficient, so for COVID-19. So if we're coming to a site to do testing, we would always spray the machine beforehand in round where that stuff would be, and it's very handy. We've got lift options. So we've got the machine lift with vertical and horizontal motion, and we've also got a quick hitch for the mushroom machine. And we've actually designed our own personnel lift, which connects directly to the machine lift. Now, we're still working on those. We have found things that we could make things an awful lot better, maybe reduce the weight, do those things. So design work is still in progress, but there is certain things that we will be keeping on the next versions of the lift, and there's certain things that will be changing slightly. But we found that we had to do something, because when we talked to lift manufacturers, they didn't think we had anything, so they wouldn't be bothered. And we also found that the machines were, sorry, there's something wrong with my phone here. Right. My machine was churning out so many punnets that we had to have somewhere to put them, so everything needed to be in the same place. So we had the trolley for moving the machine back and forward, and the machines can be placed on the lifts within minutes, and it is a one-person operation. Other features that we've got is with a low battery warning, with a sucker clean alarm, with adjustable speed in all motors. We have an extremely fast PC and wireless connectivity, allowing us for future upgrades. We did upgrade the PCs because we have great intentions of moving on with our software to add more and more features, and we didn't want to have something that would be limited. We didn't want to be limited by the PC. So at the minute, the program is running about 20% of the capacity of the PCs. So we have remote login for troubleshooting and upgrades, and we capture all the data to a central data source. And we, again, I mentioned earlier, Farm Manager, we have working with Adam with regard to that in conjunction. The machine will also work without the central data source. And I should have mentioned, a few people have asked me about this, if the machine is not in wireless connectivity, it will actually save the data, and when it gets into an area where the data can be transferred and uploaded via wireless, it then will send it up. So it can be instantaneous if it's in signal, or it can be when it's out of the tunnel and into the wireless area, it will upload then. We have the large shells, mentioned that, and we have an area for oversized or value pack mushrooms as well. We have two stock cutting devices at either side for if you're using value pack or mushrooms that you don't want to put into the current punnets that you're using, and the cups have magnetic detection features. Obviously, safety is paramount, so the mushroom machine Game Changer is designed to be safe. These features include an emergency stop, easy to get at. The cutting blade is protected at the back and cannot be accessed while the machine is operational, but it can be lifted out, and limit switches are standard in all the lifts. Testing has taken us a long time. When we started to design and test the new versions of the Game Changer, we basically implemented the following rules. We would test extensively prior to even going out on site. There is no preparation prevents pathetic performance, and we've had a few times where things didn't go according to plan, but we have them at a bare minimum because we tested extensively before we went out on site. We basically decided never to go out on site with known problems on the machine, because we got past the stage of trying to get ways around problems. We wanted the problem to have disappeared to see if there was any other problems. So there was no sense going out and with the usual suspects. So that sometimes has meant people will go, why are you not out? Why are we cannot get our machines? But this is the reason. So most people as well often wondered if I was the only person that was working on the machine, but I found that if I'm the one there, I can hear what the users are saying. So we always listen very intently to the users, the pickers, the users, the people transporting the machines in, because offhand comments can actually lead to resolution of problems, and also just saying we need to change something here. The last wee while we've been testing the machines with different users on different sites. So we've been actually going to other sites because every site is different. And on the same site, you learn the same problems, but on different sites, you learn different problems. From an infrastructure point of view, is the way they do things, the people, just everything changes. So it's been a very good learning experience. We watch everything and we investigate everything, no matter how insignificant. Some of our best breakthroughs were people said, why is this happening? And you would take a look at it, you go, I didn't even notice that. So sometimes you're concentrating on other things and people will bring things to your attention. So we did take note of a majority of those things, or anything that we came across, and we actually looked into them and we learned more about our machine and more about what we needed to do. We wanted to prioritize the user, and that's why we've done things like the multi-currency, multilingual, and we wanted it to be simple so that if people had problems with specific things, we had to work our way around them. So we had heard rumors that the last 5% of development takes 40% of the time, and we can certainly know the truth of that. We believe we have now closed off that last 5%. We had one problem that was creating a lot of problems for us. Not big problems, and they were happening after 8 hours, 12 hours, could have happened after an hour and a half, but it came down to milliseconds. So we had to rechange our electronics a wee bit because we were missing signals maybe after 8 hours, and it was causing a problem. We can now say we've been testing the solution to that problem from, I think it was Tuesday or Wednesday, and we haven't had a problem since. I must say we did learn of 16 other things that didn't cause the problem. So we worked on the Edison principle. We also have learned that what we have done, other developers or competitors in the harvesting arena will basically have to do the same amount of testing. But because those competitors will be in a bigger scale, unlike us, they'll have to test on farm, which will incur even more delays and even more costs, and somebody will have to pay for it. So if I had a problem, I could bring my electronics guys around, my programming guys around and say, what's going on here? This is how it happened. Whereas if I had to travel 2 or 3 hours down the road, or even 2 or 3 days, and bring people about from one place to another, it certainly adds to an awful lot more cost. So we've tested our machine continuously for around 6 months, both in the workshop and on site. When we haven't been on site, we have been in the office testing or in the workshop testing. We now have a machine ready for the marketplace that we know will work consistently. The results of our testing and the results of our machine after our 6 months of extensive testing, both on and off site, the results are fairly obvious. And we calculated our results in the following manner. So the way we've done it is not very technical or very onerous, but we counted the punnets. So we looked at all the comparative pickers on the same day in the same crop and tunnel, knowing that the variations weren't there, and we counted their punnets. We compared the kilograms harvested overall by the picker, and we swapped the picker back to the harvesting without machines. So from that scenario, I would say you only have to count the punnets. If we have twice as many punnets than anyone else in the shed, we're doing on twice as fast. If we have 3 times more punnets than anyone else in the shed, we're going 3 times as fast. Now, how was these seen? When we had a picker who spent a few days on the machines, again, the results were blatantly obvious. The machine and the picker produced at least twice as many punnets as any other picker in the house, and sometimes as many as 3 times more punnets. We also found that the machine was traveling at least twice as fast up the shelving as any of the other pickers. So continually we might have had someone on a different shelf who would have started halfway up, and there was no time that we were actually trying to get them moved out of the way, say, look, hold on a second, you need to go somewhere else, go way to the back or get out of the road somewhere, because we were going faster. We also found that newer pickers improved their rates much faster than more experienced pickers. Now, more experienced pickers would have an embedded technique or a harvesting rhythm that they would work with. And it takes them a little while to shed that, especially if they're moving from one hand to two-handed picking and not reaching to get the knife or get the cut. So that actually encouraged us dramatically that new pickers could catch on very, very quickly to the machine. We also found that pickers who slowed down in the early stages, basically where they were mastering the technique, made greater progress than pickers who tried to go fast at the beginning. So sometimes people are putting the pickers under pressure at the beginning, whereas I'm trying to slow them down and saying you need to use both sides of the belt and you need to leave spaces. So that was very encouraging. And the remarkable thing is, we have found that people pick sometimes faster in the day, in the morning, and slow down in the evenings manually. But with the machine, they kept getting faster and faster and faster all the time. So it was nice to see that at the end of the day, they were actually picking faster than they were at the beginning of the day. And like I've seen people doing 30, 40 kilos an hour, probably after half an hour on the machine. And some of those pickers maybe only had been picking 1 or 2 months, relatively new. What have the results been? Well, many mushroom producers all over the world have decided that our game changer is the future and have placed orders for machines. We have a full farm implementation agreed for one UK producer after seeing the results of the machine in operation after several days. And we're very proud of that, and that'll be starting in a few days' time. There are some requirements, but our requirements are fairly limited. With the mushroom machine game changer, we do require level rails. It is important that we have level rails. We have made as many things as we can to reduce that level of level rails, but level rails are important. And they need to be capable of carrying the weight of our machines. You have to bear in mind that our machine's 65 kilos plus of waste, which is probably 10 kilos. And then you've got the waste inside of that as well. So the ones that we would recommend are those or equivalent. And most of the farms actually have these. The punnets. The mushroom machine requires denestable punnets, which have an even spacing between each of the punnets. So Paddy McShane from McShane Packaging has been working with us to provide us the solution for this. If you notice at the black boxes down there, a denestable punnet has a slight space between each one, between the next punnet, and that needs to remain consistent. And I am happy to say that on all our testing now, we're basically using McShane punnets, and a good punnet means a good day's picking. It really makes a phenomenal difference to the machine. Bad punnets means a bad day's picking. We're still a lot faster than anyone else, but pickers don't like to have their rhythm disturbed by sorting out punnets. So we can recommend McShane Packaging for a solution that'll work with our machine. What's the future? The mushroom machine game changer has been designed with the future in mind. We intend to continue to improve machine speeds and efficiencies. And even today, I think I may have mentioned it here, but on our tests, we were hitting 82, 85, 91.6 kilos an hour. We have 3 people actually testing machines here today, just after all our fixes, trying to see if we can break them at all. So that is going to be ongoing, and we have parts and components in that to allow us to move it on. Could another 10 or 15%. I actually think that nobody will be able to pick anywhere near the speed of our machine, but maybe we'll run a competition for the pickers and offer them a prize bonus to see if they can get them over 100 kilos an hour. So we also want to keep upgrading the software with more additional functions like time and attendance and greater improvements. We're thinking of messaging, things like that I can actually send a message to the picker, tell the person to change punnets from one thing to another. If the average weight is going down, or the average weight of the mushroom is going down, maybe say a message, or you're picking too small of mushrooms. So all of those things. So we are going to continue to move on that, and it's going to be good fun. We also have in the plan certain additional accessories which will add value, which basically means it'll improve the picking rates from the system, and some of those things are partially designed at the minute. So we want to look at continuing analysis and improvement of the picking techniques. We would obviously like to look at the people that are doing the best picking rates on the machine and see what they're doing different to other people who may be not doing as well. And therefore we can then provide traditional training and support aids in order to try to raise the bar across the board. Hey, we could be getting into the area where it's a little bit more controversial, but it's again, it's information. And I would say that these are my views, and you may agree or disagree with me, but I have tried to do it as informed as possible and with talking with other mushroom producers. But the main advantage of our solution over other actually harvesting solution is ours a generic finished solution. It is one person operated, and every part of the machine is in easy reach of the operator. It doesn't require an external power source because we can use it with a 12 or 24 volt battery, either off the lift or with just a battery sitting on the top of it. We could use existing infrastructure, and it is available a few weeks after order, and you can scale up as fast or as slow as you want. Now, other solutions are large scale. They are risky. They're bespoke solutions, and most of these things will ensure that you've got large scale risk and you've got bespoke problems. And problems may not readily be visible, and the promises may never be achieved. So now, to get into the specifics of it, and again, I say this is my views, other harvesting solutions have these disadvantages. They won't work on existing infrastructure, or they require an awful lot of amendments. They probably require new facilities. They are also very expensive, which means they have a long ROI. Some of them are typically 8 years. And obviously with the prices of steel going up 50% there in the last 6 months and expected to rise by another 50%, they're going to get even more expensive. They're a long time from order to implementation, and we all know that time kills. Could be high maintenance. Results and improvements are still not tested or guaranteed. Some people are selling a future vision and not a finished product. We have a finished product. Single point of failure. If a system is a problem, everything stops. Many systems are moving the picker away from the shelves, some of the belting arrangements, and that is a serious disadvantage for pickers where they can't get into the middle of the shelves, or you have to change your whole shelving units. And cleaning could be a challenging issue as well. So we'll deal with robotic picking. Robotic picking has been offered as a solution, but the problem is speed of picking is very slow. It requires a totally new infrastructure setup and probably won't work on existing infrastructure. We believe that it'll still require pickers to prepare the beds for the robot. Producers will have to change their growing techniques regarding the pinning of mushrooms. There'll be a vast reduction in that. Again, there's a lot of expense. The technology is still very much at an infant stage with regard to performance and reliability. And I'm not talking about robots, I'm talking about the picking of the mushrooms, because mushrooms is not an easy product to pick. And the other main factor is that picking is only part of the solution or part of the problem. So just because you picked the mushroom, what are you going to do with it after that? There's a lot of other things that caused us a lot of problems from that stage on. You may ask about, can we produce machines? We have excellent production facilities, and we do expect to be able to manufacture around 50 machines a month in probably 5 to 8 months. We have most of our existing stock, and we had a large stock. They're basically allocated at the minute. So prices, if you want to take a wee read down that there. We're not sure how prices are continuing to go upwards in terms of the cost of everything, but our intentions would be to keep the machines around the level of one person's wage. Return on investment, the cost of the mushroom machine Game Changer would be roughly equivalent to the annual wage of a picker. Now, there is a lot more cost to a picker than just their actual wage. You've got your PRSI or your PAYE, you've got your insurance, you've all those things as well. So, and your training costs. But the Game Changer will double the picking rate of a picker, so therefore the machine should have a return of investment of around 1 year. However, if you're getting a 50% government grant, you could get 6 months of a return on investment, which is very short. However, if you use the machine over 2 shifts, so you're working those shifts probably 16 hours a day, and you geared your production correctly, it's possible that return on investment could be as low as 6 months or 3 months with the government grant. Also, you need to take into effect the increases in yield by accurate stock cutting. Again, people have said around 10% extra weight. I mightn't say as much as that, but there definitely is there's a definite advantage there. We believe introducing grazing with the machine, nearly forcing people to keep to a specific size, would mean you'd have a better yield. Improvements in the mushroom presentation, because it does take time to present them correctly. So that a more even presentation across good pickers and bad pickers. We also believe that we can squeeze further or future speed efficiencies out of the machine. And we have additional features that we will be adding to the machine, which will increase kgs per hour. And there is a massive one on the bottom where the possibility of allowing people to upscale their production with the same workforce. So you know that you won't have to buy new forklifts, build a new farm, different canteen. Upscaling production, I think, would add significantly to the bottom line for producers. So just a few notes on this. Producers can avail of a 50% grant in Ireland from their producers organisation, which is CMP in Northway, and you need to speak to Donal about that. And we have 3 other mushroom related innovations in the pipeline, which we will be starting very soon. Frequently asked questions, we say we'll go through some of these questions. I know that it's taken up a lot of your time, but I'll finish off. So any other queries you can ask at the very end of the presentation. So these is ones that people have asked us a lot about. Why talk about doubling the picking rate rather than give picking rates per hour? So basically all pickers and harvesters are different. When we compare the kilos or pounds that comes off the machine with what the same picker does in the same room on the same day without the machine, we get at least double the mushrooms. As I said, sometimes 3 times. The way to do it is just count the punnets. Again, we noticed that they go down the rows at twice the speed. So how does the machine double the picking rate? We touched on that earlier, but by allowing the pickers to pick with 2 hands and place on the belt, which is within easy reach. We've had comments where people have said this looks too easy. There is no way that they can do the speed that the machine's telling them. And we've told them to count the punnets and run the stopwatch in. When we work with 2-handed picking, we mean that they would be picking not 1 mushroom per hand, but most of the ones that we have done would be picking 3 mushrooms in each hand. So they're picking 6 mushrooms and bringing them across and putting them on the belts. And there is minimal movement involved in that. We're also obviously eliminating the cutting of the stalks, weighing, packing, denesting, all those things are basically done by the machine. So what about new picker speeds? We've touched a wee bit on this. New speed pickers seem to catch on quicker to the machine, and their productivity increase more rapidly. And we believe this because their reactions are less automatic or ingrained, and thus it's easier for them to change. So if you're bringing new people on, the machine's an easier way to train them up with a immediate improvement in kilograms per hour. Can the machine more than double their picking rate? Yes, there is no problem with that there. We also believe that small software adjustments and enhancements will further speed up the game changer, and with new things that we're going to do, in the very near future, we expect that to happen. Will suction damage the mushrooms? The vacuum settings we use in the game changer are very, very low. We have tripled the vacuum pressure that we normally use, tested mushrooms after 6 days, and we have found no marks on the head of the mushrooms or any other damage. We've actually found that there's been more marks on ordinary mushrooms or control mushrooms there has been on the machines. I believe the reason this question comes up a lot is because there were tests done 10, 15 years ago with people trying to pick mushrooms using vacuum. But the vacuum that you would require to do that would be excessive and definitely would damage the mushrooms. But in this case, we're just lifting it off the belt, so we do require very little vacuum. Do pickers like the machine? Nobody likes change, but we have found it relatively easy for them to operate. Most pickers see it as an opportunity, and others may see it as a threat. It should be seen and portrayed as an opportunity and a way to greater rewards and job security. Trying to slow them down initially so that they concentrate on the technique rather than the speed does produce better speed and satisfaction with the picker over time. We have had wonderful comments like, great machino, very fast machine. Can we use the machine when it comes? Will I get one? So we do find most of them are very excited about the fact of operating the machine. So what's the technique? The best speeds are achieved if the picker picks with both hands and places the mushrooms on the belt by using both sides of the belt. It's hard to get people initially to get them to leave gaps on the right-hand side of the belt and to stop them from moving one mushroom from one hand to another before they pick it on the belt. But it doesn't be that long. Sometimes it only takes them half a day, and sometimes it takes a day and a half to get people to stop those wee things. But that's where we normally try to get them to slow down at the very beginning so that they kind of get the feel for it. And obviously the big thing is always check the punnets prior to loading so that you don't have any bent ones or funny ones. And some people have asked us, why not make the belt faster? Well, there is an optimum speed for the belt, and the belt should only be fast enough to make sure that when the picking place is going across and dropping off the mushrooms, when it comes back, the belt should be in position, or the mushroom should be underneath that position to be picked up. So making the belt any faster than that is largely a waste of time. So there are more frequently asked questions on our website, mushroommachine.co.uk, and you click on the FAQs. For more information, including your updates, sample videos, technical specifications, sales and contacts, you can visit our website again, and we have our emails and telephone calls, and don't feel free to ring us. Now, there will be a lot of video uploaded in the next few weeks, so we're going to prioritize doing that. We're just very busy testing machines and getting everything right. So thanks to all for taking time to view our presentation, and I assume there'll be a few questions afterwards.
Thanks very much, Alan. Yeah, it's very interesting presentation you had there, and your system looks to be excellent. And if it can provide the results that you're saying, you're definitely onto something that could be worthwhile for the growers to look at. So yeah, a couple of questions started to come through on my side, Alan. So I'll just start from the bottom and go up. Does installation come when delivering the machine on site? Sorry, installation and training.
Yes, we actually like to do that, but some of the systems that we've sent obviously to other parts of the world we haven't done, but we're actually looking forward to getting out. So yes, anywhere we can get to without having to self-isolate for a period of time, we would be more than interested in going straight out on site to provide the training.
Okay. I think you touched on this already. You answered this question. The return on investment, I think you mentioned there, Alan, was it 6 months when grant aid is applied?
That's correct. Yes, that is correct. We have found that if we've tried to keep the machine around the price of an annual wage for a picker, and we would see that as being very, very reasonable. But if, say, you were instead of using the machine 8 hours a day, if you're using the machine 16 hours a day on 2 shifts, because they're easily moved about, that would actually half your return on investment time again. So it would take a little bit more work for people to organize their workforce, but we actually believe that the machine would allow people to maybe run more of a shift system, and that would also improve yield from your harvesting. So rather than getting in the shed and doing a clean sweep through the day, they could be continuously picking inside of the shed, and we think that would be a real game changer for in yield.
Yeah. Okay. What is the warranty period for your machine? Is the full warranty parts and labor?
Yes, the warranty period is 12 months. We intend to extend our warranty or ask we can charge a fee for doing that. We haven't majored onto that at the minute because we've been basically so busy just trying to make sure everything works 110%. So we will be offering solutions for people that want the security of the equivalent of an on-site maintenance plan for their machines. The advantage that we've got because we can log into the machines, we probably can preempt an awful lot of the problems, and we also intend to spend a lot of time doing video on the machines, and we would also see that we would offer maybe the engineer or someone that's on site to come to our site and do training on the machine where we go in depth. I do think training their own staff is more important in the general rule of things, so that that basically we've tried to make the machine as simple as possible, but we do believe with a little bit of training, people could see problems showing up beforehand. So we haven't settled everything down yet, but we want to make sure that the machine starts 6 o'clock in the morning and finishes whenever they finish, and it does exactly the same day. So that's a number one priority to us.
Okay. Another question here, Alan. So is there a rental option with for your machine?
We are looking at that at the minute because of the amount of money that was spent phenomenally in the design and stuff like that. If someone is interested in that, they could actually come and speak to me directly or send me an email to our thing, and we'll take a look at it. We're not saying no.
Yeah. Okay. That's fair enough. And what type of battery is used, and how long does the machine work for on one battery cycle?
That's a very good question. I'm silly that I missed that. With a 12-volt battery or a 24-volt battery, we normally are using on a 60 Ah. It's a AGM battery, which basically means if you turn it over or turn it upside down, it won't spill. So it's a secure battery for a food grade or area. But we have found between 5 and 7 hours on the machine. On a 12-volt battery, that's one single battery, and we're finding somewhere in the region about double that if we've got a 24-volt battery. Yeah, but a lot of people with the lifts are also, it'll keep them going, say, 10 hours because they're actually using the 24-volt battery to drive the lifts up and down and raise the lift. So there's a combination on the 24-volt configuration of where they are using that battery for other things as well as the machine. Mm-hmm. So, you're basically talking a full day's working on 24-volt or between 5 and 7 hours on a 12-volt.
Right. Okay. This question again, I think you touched on. Does the suction cup for placing the mushrooms leave any marks on the mushrooms? You believe not, Alan?
I not only believe not, I know not, because every place we ever went, they have asked us to do that. Now, from the very first day we started looking at it, we actually turned the suction that we believe required up, and we tripled it to what we needed, and we actually tried it, and then we moved it to we put them in for 6-7 days, and there was no marks whatsoever at 3 times the pressure that we would use. The only thing I was going to say is we had to use very specific suctions, and it took cups because it took us quite a while. The big problem was we have actually quite long suction cups, because when we came down on the mushrooms, if by chance you had a very large mushroom, we didn't want the metal part of the pick and place coming down and damaging the mushroom. So that's why we have got quite long, we've probably got 25 mil, 30 mil of squashability with the suction. So if the pick and place head had come down on top of the mushroom, it definitely would, there's no doubt about that, it would leave a mark on it.
Okay. Another one here, is the machine CE marked?
Yes, it is.
That's fine. So a question here from a US grower. So we have on their farm, they're picking currently 45 kilos per hour without a machine for several pickers. Does that mean that your machine will increase that to 90 kilos, or what is the max rate that you've seen?
Actually, the max rate is, we have had it done 91.6. The max rate actually depends. There is no technical maximum rate. We have on our machine before, we had a little problem when we actually went up to excessive speeds. We have resolved that issue now, and actually our speeds on our testing is moving up to, as I said today, I got one of the guys come in and said they were doing 91.6 kilos an hour. So I know that probably in another 2 weeks we can actually turn that up again. Mm-hmm. But I see the chances of, what I was going to say is, it depends on the weight of the mushroom that they're picking, and also the size of the punnets. If you're putting heavy mushrooms into large punnets, your speeds could go up as many as probably 130 kilos an hour, because it takes approximately 4 seconds to eject and load a punnet. You follow me? Mm-hmm. But if you've got 500 gram punnets, and as for Nance 250s, you've actually lost equivalent to 8-9 seconds, just by the depth of it. So it is actually, if they're using a big 7-pound tray or whatever, I would see 120 kilos an hour is absolutely no problem. Mm-hmm. It is as simple as that.
And Alan, just when you mentioned the tray, does your system hold the large trays? Will it be able to facilitate large trays for bulk picking?
It does. It actually, at the present moment of time, it does. That is, we didn't set out to do it, but actually someone asked us about it. It was actually an international grower, and we actually looked at it. And because we designed the pick and place in a certain way, all we did was, you only take off one of the sides and put on another that keeps it steady. We've our weighing pan, and the speeds on that are excessive. We have one user in Japan who is actually filling sizable boxes with the machine, and he's very happy with it. In fact, he sent me a video on it. Mm-hmm. So they have dramatically increased their picking speeds.
Mm-hmm. Very good.
So yeah. But I should actually I get very excited when I go in to do the punnets. So in the next few weeks, I'm actually going to get a few people to try and take video when they're doing the trays. Yeah. So because I feel that it's, to see something is much better than to talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I will prioritize that very soon.
Okay, just a couple of questions around the cleaning of the machine. So first of all, will the machine sustain cookout to prevent disease?
No. We're not here to boil anything or whatever. So what we do is we spray it with the spot on, because, and it's alcohol based. So basically, you spray it in a few seconds, that has disappeared, but it'll kill all the spores and that stuff. But there is, if you want to wipe it down more for the look of it, it's not a big problem. But if we're moving from one place to another, we spray around it. We've got just a wee container, and with a spray end on it, and we spray all around it, and then we give it a wee wipe off. But it definitely wouldn't be a good idea to cook our electronics.
Yeah.
It's not needed.
And another question around the cleaning is the current disinfectants. How are many of the parts, the moving parts? So I presume there
No,
would it be that
we've already
is a
covered
corrode.
that and tested
Yeah.
that. No, because it's alcohol based. It'll,
Mm.
it's not water based. So,
Yeah.
but I must say, we have chosen very high quality products. We kind of at the very beginning we decided that we would not say no expense spared, but realistically, we wanted reliability above everything else because this thing could be starting at 6 o'clock in the morning. I definitely didn't really relish a phone call at that time in the morning.
Yeah. Yeah. And how does how does the operator clean the knives? So the knives that actually cut the stalk, is there a way of taking them out to clean them, or what
Yes,
way
you,
does that
you
work?
actually just lift them up. There
Okay.
is no tool required. I should have mentioned this here. We have plans to double cut the stalk. And we are looking at doing a variable stalk length system at the back. We have quite a bit of the work done for it, but it hasn't been just a priority and the growers that we've been talking about at the minute. But everything that we do doesn't really require a tool
Mhm.
because people get very nervous when you go in with tools into the mushroom house.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. A question in relation to health and safety. So does the equipment have, I think it's pronounced Lawler and UCAS approved?
We are putting that through that at the minute.
Okay. Okay. Can the machine be used to pick the first shelf? I think I would have seen that in one of the first videos. Yeah.
Yes, actually, on the video at the very beginning, we had the girl. She could either sit in it, but actually, they found that kneeling on it was an awful lot better. Yes, we do pick the first shelf. We pick all of the shelves. Well, there's 1 to 6. You follow me?
Yeah.
So, and initially, when we started to test the machines, initially we were doing basically the first shelf and the second shelf. But then when we realized we saw where we started to solve most of the problems, then we found out we had to do the lift because basically there was that many punnets coming off the machine. The girls were spending all their time running away back to pull the trays to put where the full punnets were, and we also spent a lot of time designing a lift that would operate the bottom shelf so that her infrastructure would be immediately round her. There would be no change to where she was putting her trays or doing anything like that there on the bottom shelf or the 6th shelf.
Mm-hmm.
So because we wanted to become a habit, you understand, where basically they just did it. I did, and I must say I've been very impressed with the pickers, and they really have taken to the machine very, very well. And it's been great fun.
Yeah, it's been a learning curve, all right. I'd say that. But
yes, not everything goes according to plan.
Yeah,
as you and I both know.
That's right. A couple of production-related questions here, very straightforward. So, what is the largest and the smallest mushroom the machine can handle?
Oh, we done that at the very beginning, depending on how we change the arm. So the main one that we would be catering for most of the time is around kind of the 55 millimeter mushroom, which is a kind of the industry standard, if you understand me. So we really have buttons. We're talking about buttons be about 25 to 45 millimeters. So you put in the arm for the buttons. Now it will do slightly bigger ones, but we normally change the robotic setting to 4. So we're picking up on 4 to fit them nicely and give the presentation in the punnets. But then, as I say, the medium cups are about 30 to 60, and then the large cups are around 50 to 80 millimeters. I must say that the bigger the cups that you get into, your speed and the use of the machine becomes less, or the ability of the machine to pay for itself becomes less. You understand? Because you could be picking 4 mushrooms to fill a punnet, if you understand me.
Yeah.
But as I said, the industry standards now are sitting around that kind of 50, 55 millimeters is really what most people, housewives, are looking to buy.
Yeah. Another production-related question. Does the system handle flats? So how successful is it with portobellos at the size of 20 millimeters?
We're not really geared for that at this particular moment in time. The other thing is with flats, you're normally putting them sideways into the punnets to get your presentation right. So we'd have to have another axis on our machine to lift it, drop it down, and push it in backways. You follow me? So, and at the end of the day, I think there is we can gain dramatic and double or maybe triple the speed of people picking 30 to 60. I would say it'd be hard for us to do that with portobellos. We may look at it whenever we've all the farms in Ireland sorted out in the UK, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That should take us a year or two, anyway.
Yeah, that's it.
Maybe we'll have a serious brainwave for doing some of those shortly, but we're concentrating on this wee bit at the minute. Yeah. But thanks for the question.
Yeah, no, just a few more questions and we'll wrap it up then. So can you adjust the percentage of mushrooms placed in the punnet per size, e.g. increase from 9 medium mushrooms to 12 for a given setting?
I don't know what you run that question past me again.
Yeah, so can you adjust the percentage of mushrooms or the number of mushrooms placed in the punnet per size, e.g. increase from 9 medium mushrooms to 12? I presume that's based on when it reaches the target weight, is it, Alan? Or?
Yeah, I think, well, I'll explain this so it can answer the question without trying to avoid the question, but I'm not sure just exactly there. What I'm saying is, if you've got different punnet sizes, we have different placement scenarios inside the punnet, if you understand me. So if I've got different sizes of containers, I have to change the placement of the mushrooms inside the container in order to get an even product. So what I'm saying is we can do that in the software, but if we're coming too close to the weight in the UK, most people are actually pushing towards whatever the weight is. So we are trying to exceed the weight. So if we come and we need 9 mushrooms and it hits the weight, it'll eject the punnet. Whereas if I need 10, it'll just add one more mushroom to it, because the machine is continually working out what the mushrooms, the weights are and what it's supposed to be. Okay. Hopefully, I hope that answers the questions, if that's possible. yeah.
But what I'd say is at the end of the day, this webinar will be online and people can look up your website anyways, Alan,
but if they want to direct. If they want to send me an email to clarify anything like that, I'm definitely well into emails.
Yeah, no, that's no problem. We'll just maybe finish up with one more question. So, with the known picking speeds during your trial, did the mushroom collectors or harvester service teams keep up with the speed of the machine?
Yes. There was no problem there. We did produce an awful lot of stuff on my last outing there. I went round the shed we started at 7 o'clock, went round the shed at 11. We had 3 times more punnets than anybody else, but to a certain extent, they may have had to work a little bit harder. But what we're saying is, the punnets coming out of the shed will probably be the same, but the amount of people that generate in the punnets will be half. So what I'm saying is, we envisage on our machine, you'll have 6 machines in the shed with 6 people. They will generate the same as 12 people in the shed. So at the end of the day, the handlers are getting exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
But we have a few other things coming along the line which will actually reduce the amount of work for the handlers. We intend to automate a wee bit more of that there. We don't want to forget them and let them work too hard.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough.
They're still a cost.
yeah, but I get your point. It's just the collectors are just more focused in certain pickers rather than having a large team to deal with. That's what you're saying, Alan.
That's correct. And actually, it allows a lot more room in the shed.
Yeah.
Because if you've less people in the shed, you're not pushing things around it. And could you move here? And could you get this person out of here? You know what I mean? So there's less of a dodgems involved.
Yeah, absolutely. So look, I think we'll wrap it up there. Alan, I'd like to thank you for coming on the call, and I'd like to thank everyone who tuned in.
Thank you.
We'll keep you all informed of any upcoming webinars. So thanks very much, and thanks for tuning in.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.